So now, back in the early '80s, you were the county attorney here in Dangerfield.
I was.
And a new district court, the 276, was created. There was already a 76 that served Morris County.
Yes.
But they created a 276.
Yes.
And you were appointed to that
Yes.
post. So would you please tell us a little bit of the story about how that came about and why a 276 maybe was needed?
It was a matter really of caseload and court time being available. The 76th District Court originally had 5 counties. It had Franklin, Titus, Kemp, Morris, and Marion. Is that 5?
Yes.
And they took Franklin County out and left it with Titus, Kemp, Morris, and Marion, which lightened the load of 76. But although the judge would come to Morris County on a regular basis for non-jury cases throughout the year, we only had what they called a spring term and a fall term, which in effect meant we got 4 weeks a year for jury trials, criminal and civil. That was fine for the olden days when there weren't that many cases filed, but by the time the early 80s came around, Lone Star Steel was booming. The truck traffic was heavy. The economy was, although on a national basis, the economy had faltered elsewhere in Texas. In this area, it was really good. And the caseloads had grown tremendously. So there was a push by the local bar to get more court time. And Buck Florence was a state representative. Ed Howard was a state senator. And we started talking to them about the creation of a new district court to increase court time for our area. The difficulty was the politics of how to create it. Historically, Morris County at one time was a part of Titus County. We were split in 1875. And the older lawyers in Titus County kind of argued they didn't want to lose Morris County because of the historical factors involved. Originally, the idea was to create a new district court for Morris and Marion County and leave Titus and Kemp as a district. That was resisted to the point where the plan came to just overlay another court over 3 of the 4 counties. The original bill overlaid the 276th District Court for Titus, Kemp, and Morris and left the original 276th in Marion County. But Judge Moy, who was the district judge at 76, really didn't like going to Marion County. And we made an agreement to have the new court overlap the 4 counties and let him, as the judge of the 276th District, quit going to Marion County. And it got passed and the bill got signed, and in the spring of 1981 we then had 2 district courts for Morris County, which gave us a lot more court time, and we needed it. We had a lot of workers' comp cases, a lot of FELA cases. As I say, a lot of the truck traffic was heavy. The highways weren't near as safe as they are today, and we had a lot of motor vehicle accidents. We just had a heavy caseload, criminal and civil, and so this gave us, in Morris County, 5 months of court instead of 4 weeks.
Right.
So it really helped us out.
Okay. How did you were the first judge of the 276.
I was the first judge.
And you remained that way for 30 years. The first and only for 30 years.
Kind of like Tom Landry.
Until your retirement in 2010. So how did it come about that you were appointed? Do you know?
Luck in politics. I wanted the job after the court got created, and of course under Texas law, any vacancy in a district court, whether it's because of death or resignation or the creation of a new court, by law is filled by appointment by the governor. And that appointment is effective until the next general election And then whoever is appointed, if they want to keep the job, has to file and run in the
Right.
external election. I wasn't the only one who was interested, but I was able to get enough support from the bar, the lawyers in the four-county area, and local business people, people of some standing and prominence, to have the governor appoint me. And of course, I won't call it a problem, but I was a Democrat, and the Republican, Governor Clements, was a Republican, and he overlooked that fact, did the right thing.
And so you were sworn in
I was sworn in May of 1981.
May of 1981. And so if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about some of your most memorable or maybe notorious cases that you had. Just a couple, if any come to your mind, stand out more than others.
I would like to talk about Morris County cases. Probably the most notorious case in Morris County was the Tony Walker capital murder case, where the older black couple were killed rather brutally. Truthfully, the most notorious case I ever tried was the Pizza Hut murders in Titus County, where 3 people were killed, and because of the brutality of the murders, it picked up national attention and got national TV coverage, and Time magazine wrote it up. So as far as notoriety, that probably was the most notorious case I tried. If you go in Outlaws, not Outlaws, Bodacious Barbecue in Mount Pleasant, on the walls they have old yellow newspaper coverage of that case and that trial. I tried a lot of cases. The largest jury verdict I ever presided over was 21 million. I presided over cases where they got 0. A lot of bad things, saw a lot of bad things, saw some funny things. I'll just tell you quickly, a case in Marion County, 2 women got into an argument in a little community that you can't get to from Texas. You have to drive into Louisiana and circle back into Texas to get there, unless you want to go by horseback or walk. And the argument escalated, and one of them ended up pulling a gun or a knife, I don't remember which, and there wasn't any serious injuries, but a deadly weapon was used. So there was an indictment for aggravated assault, and we spent about 3 days trying that case, and finally got it to the jury, and the jury had been out about 30, 40 minutes, and they sent a note out. The bailiff brought me the note, and I opened it up, and this was a quote from the note. It said, "Judge, could you just give these 2 women a good old-fashioned ass chewing and send them home?" So that's probably one of my memorial cases.
Did you oblige?
No.
What were your favorite? Did you have a favorite type cases that you heard?
No, not really. One of the reasons I enjoyed my job is because I had something different all the time, and it kept it interesting. Probably overall, the criminal cases were, from a legal, technical standpoint, easier to try. Civil cases could be routine, or they could be very complicated. My least favorite, quite frankly, was family law, because it's really difficult to sit there and watch people really, fight and scratch over young kids. And so those were the days so that I was more reluctant to get up and go to work.
Well, the courthouse that you were sworn in and served in was not the original courthouse in Morris County.
No, the original courthouse is, of course, part of the next law firm complex now, and it was opened for use in 1882.
Downtown on Linda.
Yes.
Right.
There by the railroad track.
Right.
And truthfully, I don't know where they held court from 1775 to 1882. I've never seen anything about that, but that courthouse went into use in 1882, and it just became run down and too small, and they looked at remodeling and decided it was going to be way too expensive to fix the roof and do the remodeling they needed to do to modernize it with the space they would end up with. So the Commissioners Court at that time and the county judge, who was Peyton Evans, elected to build a new courthouse, and that resulted in the present day courthouse at 500 Broadnax, and it was opened and dedicated in June of 1974.
Okay. And it's been in use ever since.
Been in use ever since. It became too small too quickly, and of course that resulted in the annex and the new jail. The 1974 courthouse contained, and it's still there, a maximum security jail and the quarters for the sheriff, so he could reside in residence there at the jail and be there at all times. Those quarters are now where the Steve Cowan's office is, the county attorney's office is there in those quarters now, which is why the county attorney's the only officer in the courthouse that has his own private restroom.
Well, I guess my final question would just be, did you enjoy it, the 30 years, and still now as a visiting judge, the 30 years you spent at the 276th district judge?
It was an amazing profession. It as I said earlier, was always interesting. Every time you thought you'd seen it all, you saw something new. So, yes, I did.
Well, thank you so much for doing this interview and remembering